SportsGrid.com.
Hey! Wake up! Shake off the cobwebs. We're back on the air with you. Back in the saddle. Well, that was only one day, but where's my song here? Where's the appropriate? Here we go. No, that's Happy Trails. That's the wrong one. That's when we're leaving. Hang on.
I'm back in the saddle again.
Back in the saddle again.
Out where a friend is a friend.
On this Wednesday. Get on in here. Get on in here. It's live radio.
Back in the saddle again.
However you'd like to be a part of the show, text me, call me, comment on the live stream. See what we can get into today. Huh?
My old 44.
Can they say that on the
where
radio?
You sleep out every night and the only law is right. Back in the saddle again.
Sing along, everybody.
Whoopie-tie-I-O, rocking to and fro.
Back and you're kind of stuck in between midweek baseball and the resumption of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Oh, and also tomorrow is the opening day for Major League Baseball, so we got that going for us. You know, speaking of Aerosmith, today is Steven Tyler's birthday. Now, I don't know exactly how old he is. I guess I could look it up. We can do the math. Let's see. He was born in 1948. Did y'all realize Steven Tyler was that old? Do the math on that. How old is he? I'm not doing it. Anyway, happy birthday, Steven Tyler, lead singer Aerosmith. Inauspicious start to the radio show today on a Wednesday. Who cares? It's our show. We can do what we want. So get on in here. You can be a part of it. If you're watching the live stream, it's live on YouTube, Facebook, out there in X land, formerly Twitter. Feel free to post a comment there. That'll get you in here. How you feeling about things today? You know, I was not here yesterday, and so we didn't get the immediate day after reaction to State's women's team losing Monday night to USC, and the girl for USC had a knee injury, and there was like a big brouhaha, like they've trying to make it sound like it was intentional, which it wasn't, and it really wasn't even a dirty play. And I'm like, where's this coming from? They're really mad. I guess anybody'd be mad if the key player gets hurt in a game, especially with a little contact, but so what? It wasn't that big a deal. I mean, it happens in every game. But anyway, that's a couple days ago. Like I say, here on this Wednesday, kind of stuck in between. He had midweek baseball last night. We'll cover that in headlines coming up. You got weekend stuff coming. You get a series this weekend for State starting a day early because the series for State against LSU in Baton Rouge begins tomorrow as opposed to normal Friday through Sunday. They're going to go, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in that one. We'll look ahead at all of that. Let's check in, see how our good old buddy old pal Beeve is doing here on this Wednesday. Beeve!
Matt Wyatt.
How you feeling?
I'm good.
Are you chipper?
Well, I don't know about chipper. I don't know that I'm ever classified as chipper.
Yeah, I got you. Wait a minute. So Bill got on to us for missing yesterday? Is that what happened? He got on our case?
No, he didn't. I was just saying that because he was in the room.
Gotcha.
He didn't.
I got you.
But he told me that, he said, well, I could have run the show, but
yeah,
I don't like to ask other people to do stuff.
To do your job?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Well, glad you're back and all is well, and we can roll right on into the weekend, hopefully. What's the weather like down there? Is it hot?
It's a little warm.
Yeah, relative.
But you know me, I am always warm.
You don't like the warm. Let's see. Today, the high in Tupelo is 77. And I know yesterday the high in Tupelo was 82, so I know we got up close to like 85 yesterday in the metro. I was down that way yesterday. And then the end of the week, let's see, tomorrow and Friday, North Mississippi, high 81 and 80. So, yeah, it's get ready, beef. Get ready. It's going to be, next thing you know, it's going to be 90. Give it about a month.
Yeah, I don't like it. Man, if Nick is listening, don't you chime in on this. You know that, man. He's always, man, give me 100 degrees and mosquitoes.
Yeah, you know, the mosquitoes I could do without. I just know that kind of comes with the territory around here. Let me set that up. So for Nick and Denzel and some of y'all that really do follow state sports and including women's basketball, I didn't get to talk to y'all yesterday, so I'm curious what you thought about the I don't know, everything that went along with that deal on Monday night, State's women losing to USC. The best player for USC blows her knee out, ACL injury, and she was trying to drive to the basket. One of State's players cut her off, and her knee just buckled. You know, look, anybody out there otherwise, I understand you're mad and your best player gets hurt, but like there's just no way to believe that anything like that was intentional unless you're just a little bit nuts to begin with. Okay, so it was not intentional. But I'd be curious what you thought. So get on in here. You can be a part of it. Like I said, if you're on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, feel free to pop a comment in there. I can see it. Just post it. I can see it. We'll pop it up on the screen and be a part of the conversation that way. You can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. The number to text is 885-3776. 601 number 885-3776. Hey, Beav, I got to ask you a question here. Would it get me in trouble or would it be bad business if on this show I just completely, going forward, we just disown ESPN altogether and no more mentions, we're not even going to say their name, we're not even going to mention them or even recognize any association with them whatsoever going forward? Would that be bad?
I think it's an excellent idea.
Are you on board with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I go down for this, you in flames, you coming with me?
Yep.
Okay, that's it then. I'm not even going to use it as a part of using their acronym. Is that what I could say? Yeah, I'm not going to use their acronym to announce the text line number anymore. I'm done with them. I am thoroughly disgusted that the Southeastern Conference and its commissioner married itself or themselves to them to the acronym and the acronym only for media rights and broadcast rights and stuff going forward. I think it's terrible because they are an awful, awful, awful company. Okay, so they have distribution. They show the games. I get it. I understand that. I'm out. I'm talking out. 100% out on the acronym for the rest of my life. Period. End of story. I've had enough. Not touching it with a 10-foot pole. That I'm an ant on the sidewalk to them, to the acronym. So it's not like anybody there really cares. But I'm just announcing the acronym is an awful company with bad, crooked, I'm talking vindictive, bad leadership. Done with them. Not touching. Cannot believe that the commissioner and our beloved Southeastern Conference married themselves to the acronym and the acronym only going forward for whatever period of time. I cannot believe that you look up and find yourself in that situation. That is an utter embarrassment. Oh, the money. Who cares? More on that in a bit. More on that in just a bit. For those that tuned in that are like really confused, don't worry, you haven't missed anything. I didn't give any explanation yet to anybody. Just stay tuned, I guess. Details forthcoming, I guess. Yes, I mean, it's not like anybody's going to be surprised by any of it. All right, your texts are coming up. Jason and Nick and More Bully and Thibodeau and Real Unnamed and all y'all coming to you on the Country Please and text line shortly. Just hang in there first.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Go online to mortgagemanms.com. Like if we ever pack it up and move the Wyatts from Tupelo to Madison or something, we're going to call the Mortgage Man Group. My man went. And Illuminate Bank. All right. First up, baseball from last night, midweek baseball. Ole Miss got a win at home over Memphis, 7-5. Out hit them 8-5. Ole Miss committed no errors, got their 19th win of the year. State with a 6-1 win over Samford last night at Duty Noble Field, 6-1. Out hit them 8-5. Both teams had a couple of errors in the ball game, so they kicked it around a little bit. State got its 16th win of the year. Elsewhere around the SEC, Georgia continues to roll. They're ranked third in the country. They had a 13-6 win over West Georgia. Tennessee, a 14-3 winner over Queens. Florida lost another game, this time at Florida State, but they played it in Jacksonville. 8-4 the final. Florida State beat Florida. Florida State, the guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Some of y'all will know it right off the top of your head. Link Jarrett, the former Notre Dame coach. He's got the Seminoles right. He went to his alma mater. They were not good the first year, but now they've got it right, and they're ranked in the top 5. And that was their 21st win. They're 21-3 this year at Florida State. Kentucky lost at home last night in the midweek. Xavier beat them 9-3. Alabama beat UNA 4-3. Let's see, A&M won last night over Houston Christian. This is midweek baseball. Oklahoma beat Oral Roberts pretty good, 11-2. South Carolina, another loss, 13-8 at the hands of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Missouri, 11-9 winners in the midweek over Illinois. Vandy shut out Eastern Kentucky. Auburn beat South Alabama, doubled them up, beat them 13-5. Texas, after the series win over LSU this weekend, get a midweek win, 13-3 over Sam Houston. That's a run rule deal, but I don't know if they played the full 9 innings or not. And LSU, the team that State's going to go to this weekend in Baton Rouge. Last night in Baton Rouge, they beat the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana 17-4. Southern Miss, they slipped up in the midweek, kind of a head scratcher there. They've been hot as a firecracker. Had a 4-0 week last week on the Diamond. Southern Miss beat Ole Miss in the midweek, and then swept Louisiana Monroe on a weekend. One of those was a run rule game, but last night lost. They were playing down in Biloxi, and Nichols beat them 8-5 last night in the midweek, and so. It's back to Pete Taylor Park this weekend for a 3-game series versus South Alabama. Now, regarding men's basketball, you got Sweet 16 coming up. You'll have 4 games tomorrow, including 3 SEC teams. Alabama and BYU is tomorrow at 6. At 6:30, it's Florida and Maryland. And then at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, it's Arkansas and Texas Tech. There's one other Sweet 16 game tomorrow. It's Arizona and Duke. And then Friday, Ole Miss will play in the Sweet 16 at 6 against Michigan State. Auburn will play that night also, and then you get the Kentucky and Tennessee Sweet 16 matchup. So it's almost like the SEC Invitational in the Sweet 16 tomorrow and Friday. And, aforementioned, the beginning of the Major League Baseball regular season tomorrow, so it'll be a lot of fun. And I'll have some fun with it. I say always. I don't know if I did it last year, but may do that again this year where we kind of celebrate the opening day for Major League Baseball with some cool audio that we go back and listen to each year to kind of get us primed. I really look forward to that. And maybe we'll get that done tomorrow also. So those are your headlines here today. Hour 1 headlines. Brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Luminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. All right, over to the text line, the country-pleasing text line. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona says, does it matter how old Steven Tyler is when he has looked 80 for at least the last 40 years? Maybe not. Yeah, so he's, what is he, 76? Nick says, Beeve, I'll be barefoot watching the wasps and pollen. Love it. That's from Nick. Now, I mean, the pollen is just a little bit ridiculous right now. We got that. We had that thing going on one of our cars where we recently had a car wash, and then you just drive up and down the road, and you could see anywhere that anyone had put their hands on the car anytime recently, because it collected like these pollen. It's like almost like you're dusting for fingerprints. It collects the pollen. So we got these pollen fingerprints and handprints all over the car. That's where we are right now. Sneezing, allergies, stuff, all that. Hey, but I'm with you, Nick. I enjoy the warm weather more than the cold, and I like it when it heats up, and I like shorts and short sleeves and sunburns. I like all that stuff. More Bully's the same way. He said, give me the heat, just no skeeters. Yeah, we're going to get some of it soon. We're going to have a couple of weeks of really nice weather with, a thunderstorm in between here and there. So your yard's still not going to dry out until you get on into April. Thibodeau texts the show. He says, I missed the reasoning for today's rant about a network to not be mentioned, but I'm here for it. Thibodeau, see if you agree with this. To go along with everything else outside of showing a live game that they have royally fouled up at the acronym over the years, to go along with that, in recent years, they began fouling up in-game broadcasts with their, I don't even know how to describe it other than it's almost just sort of a theme or a philosophy that seems to emanate from the acronym, which is celebrate selfishness. Highlight the individual more than teams. Lean into the promiscuous. Lie about the obvious. Those things sort of describe, I think, just the overall philosophy from the top floor offices at the acronym that now holds every television right for the Southeastern Conference going forward, simply because they're willing to spend a lot of money on it. Now, I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think anybody can see that. And that's why their debate programs are absolutely trash. It is unwatchable boo-boo, to borrow a word from our local politicians. That's what any debate show pretty much is at the acronym. It is politically biased. Said it. It is immature. It is sensation over information. I'm just saying stuff that everybody's nodding their head because everybody knows it's not a lie. Like, it's absolute truth what I'm saying about them. And the thing for me was this, Thibodeau. On Monday night, when what little bitty, teeny, tiny, like sliver, what little sliver of credibility that any, frankly, broadcast from the acronym might still have, any sliver of credibility they might still have. Let's just call it a splinter of credibility that they went into that broadcast with. I'm talking about the whole network the other night before the state USC women's game. They took a match, or they lit it and like turned it into a match. They burned it like a match. Their last splinter of credibility as a network. When they allowed themselves to even consider, let alone go through with, insinuating that there was anything intentional in causing the injury of that USC women's basketball player. To even insinuate it. But to let alone run with it, to let alone keep batting that idea up in the air, Holly Rowe and everybody else. That's it. It's over for me. The end. Period. I'm canceling any subscription I have. I mean it. Matt, you're not going to be able to watch. Okay. I'll watch something else. That's it. I'm done. Not another dime. Not saying the name. Well, Matt, you're on a station that's, okay, well, let's see what happens. Had enough. That was the last straw. That was as immature and wrong as it gets in broadcast journalism and in sports broadcast to even slightly run with the idea that it was intentional. Kill it with a stick.
Man, ever since Coach got his new phone from C Spire, we're undefeated.
Yeah, he's been
Y'all
using
heard me
it.
talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that, what that is. That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country pleasing sausage, these flavors and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast, walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area, the blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so
they are your home team. I'm going to read some of these comments. Questions, opinions, otherwise. One idea that I hadn't thought of, but maybe there's some merit to the idea. And I don't know how you lobby for something like this other than, I don't know, just get on social media and do it? Who said it? Was it Patches? Yeah, Patches says maybe Elon will purchase ESPN. I said I wasn't going to say it. The acronym. Strike that from the record. Man, can he afford to do? Can he afford it? Like, how do we? What's it like to be in that realm where you're so wealthy that every dime you have is public knowledge? Really? What's that like? But I mean, that's my question. Okay, so Elon Musk could afford to buy Twitter a while back. Can he afford to buy the acronym? What did Thibodeau call it? The not to be named sports network? Can he? Does he have enough money? How much? It's weird stuff we're talking about here. But that's just where we are on this day. Let's see here. All right, unnamed texter regarding the aforementioned controversial yet not controversial play in the Mississippi State women's game the other night. Bunch of idiots. Intentional, you got to be kidding me. Unnamed texter said it was not a dirty play. I'm not even sure her falling was the result of any contact. I absolutely hate to see any player get hurt, especially a season-ending injury in the middle of a run to a championship. But the fans booing MSU anytime they touched the ball for the remainder of the game was ridiculous. And the social media hate directed at Chandler Prater is abhorrent. Will not cheer for them to win another game. Well, yeah. Okay, and here's the thing about that. Again, for whatever that's worth. You won't cheer for them. Okay, I won't. For whatever it's worth, I can sit here and say, I don't care how many fans they have. I don't care what their fans thought. I don't really, it doesn't change my opinion even in the slightest what one of the analysts might have said or didn't say. The fact is, you only have to have half of one functioning brain. That would be one half of a functioning brain to watch that and go, not intentional. She's trying to cut off her lane to the basket. And sure, if you draw a little contact foul, but you're not going to give up a little layup. And She just her knee happened to buckle. And nothing intentional about it. You only have to have half of a functioning brain to realize that. So therefore, I have to assume that all those people rooting for USC who at the, frankly, thought of defense, thought it was intentional, that they don't have half of a functioning brain. That's what I have to assume. I'm sorry. I know that might be offensive, and Lord knows those folks will get offended. I don't care. I'm just telling you the truth. Here's the truth. 1, wasn't intentional. 2, pretty common. 3, any reaction to it that insinuated intentionality is not only wrong, it's stupid and at worst evil. There you go. Run, tell them I said it. Goes for all those people at the not to be named sports network, at the acronym. Done with them. The fact that it would allow, like somebody at the top would allow that to even be a part of your conversation. Get it out of here. Done with it. Well, Matt, you won't be watching No, I won't be watching football in there, I guess. Thank goodness, like the Ole Miss game and the Sweet 16 games are on CBS and stuff. I'll watch it. Done. DONE. That acronym from the top to the bottom is a pile of steaming, flies buzzing around it, trash. Now that's funny right there. Real unnamed texter. You know, you got BYU in the Sweet 16. I hadn't seen that. It's something from the Onion. It says, star BYU player suspended after testing positive for coffee. J-Rock says, I wonder how bad our girls would have lost if the best player in the country had not gotten hurt. Well, you know, she's good. Intentional? Not even close. All right, Walt texts the show on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It is the best sausage, hands down. Walt says, hey, Matt, do you honestly believe the current Ole Miss baseball turnaround is sustainable to at least get back to a regional, or is it fool's gold once they get into the meat of the SEC schedule? Thanks, from Walt. He says, for me, the jury's still out. Well, you know, here's my thing, okay? You know, a couple of things can be true all at the same time, Walt. One is, I mean, they are a really good team. When you say turnaround, I mean, from what they were after the title, which was bad, bottom of the league down there with State, frankly, they have turned it around. They are legit, you know, top 25-ish type team. And then whether or not they stay there or in that realm week to week, it does depend on, you know, once they run up on a few better teams. But look at their schedule. Look at the Ole Miss's schedule this year. They've won 4 in a row, all right? That includes the sweep of Missouri last week. But what's coming next for them? They're about to host Florida, who cannot win a game to save their life. It's the worst Florida baseball team we might have ever seen. I don't know how far we have to go back. Okay, so ever, I know is too big of a word. My lifetime, the worst University of Florida baseball team in my lifetime. Here they're coming to Oxford this week. And you get Jackson State in the midweek. You go to Kentucky. Kentucky was in a College World Series last year, but they don't look nearly the same this year either. Just lost again last week in the midweek to Xavier. Then you get Alcorn in midweek. You're going to host Tennessee. Okay, so you play Tennessee, one of the best teams in the country. Sure, that's a real test. They come to Oxford, though. Then after that, it's a trip to South Carolina. Look, I know, you know, you play Arkansas and Tennessee in this stretch first month and a half, but we're going to get to we're going to get to late April, and Ole Miss is going to have played the three of the four or so worst programs in the SEC, hands down: Missouri, Kentucky, and South Carolina. I mean, the schedule couldn't have been outside of Tennessee and Arkansas, but you hosted both. None of those are road trips. So outside of that, Ole Miss baseball couldn't have had a softer SEC schedule for this first month and a half of the year. Well, what about after that? Okay, you do host Vanderbilt, a 3-game series at Oklahoma. You go to state, which records are thrown out. That's always tough. You finish by hosting Auburn. Okay, and Auburn's good this year. But here's the thing about it. Again, look at the good teams just in terms of the rotation. Look at the good team. LSU. Ole Miss is not playing LSU in baseball this year. They're not playing Georgia in baseball this year. The good teams on their schedule are Arkansas, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Auburn. All of those are in Oxford. Every one of them. The only good team you go to is Oklahoma. The schedule could not be better. So again, Walt, when you say turnaround, so you know this, so much of baseball is confidence anyway. I mean, if Ole Miss stunk, it'd be a different thing. They're actually good. With that schedule, every team in the conference would take their schedule and happily trade it with Ole Miss's schedule. That, you know, so call it fortunate, whatever, I don't know. The schedule gods, however that works. But it couldn't have worked out better that way. And Thibodeau says, promote self over team, subscribe wholeheartedly to victimhood status, denounce accountability, promote idolatry, celebrate language. There is the network to not be mentioned. Man, Thibodeau, I don't know that I could have said it any better myself. All right. Yeah, they're not getting another dime from me, period, the end. It's over. And I know it's just a dime, but it's mine, and it's about all I got. And I'm not giving it to them anymore. That's it. I'm out. Rolling along. Stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. murraywest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
had this opportunity come up to a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, you know, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and you know, we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both. Break me off a piece of that. Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now.
The Matt Wyatt Show. Ready to talk sports the Mississippi way with you? So get in on the conversation and tell him what you think. Right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Wonder if we all ought to write our commissioner a letter and sarcastically thank him for locking up our Southeastern Conference with the network not to be named for the foreseeable future. No, whatever. We got bigger fish to fry in this world, don't we? I'm Matt in the Bureau. Staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Check them out at cspire.com. Hale State fan said, I stopped watching the acronym when the Sports Reporters show ended in 2017. They had respected professional reporters with integrity. It was a great show. Great show. Sunday mornings. Yeah, that was a good show. Regarding the basketball game on Monday night, JS290 said, I had it muted and was listening to Jason Crowder. So turned the game off at halftime. Gene on Facebook said the referees reviewed the play, called it a common foul. Of course they did, Gene. Of course they did. Because you know what? It was barely that. Oh, man. How could so many people be so stupid all at once? That's what I want to know. But the indefensible part of people like Holly Rowe and some of the others that would get in there and really and truly just to sort of like appease and align themselves with what is kind of like a mob would even halfway insinuate going along with the idea that there could have been some intention in it. That's the dumbest. I mean, it's that right there 20 years ago. 25, 30 years ago gets you fired. They're all fired for even insinuating on the actual broadcast. But not now. Not now. And by the way, let me ask you another question, Thibodeau. Here's a Southeastern Conference team that has that happen to them. Okay, that's fine. You know, competition, whatever. But now you got a Southeastern Conference athlete who's getting peppered with comments on their social media and all this kind of stuff. Has your conference or your commissioner said a word about it? I didn't think so. Cowards. Jason in Flagstaff says, I want sports, period. No politics. Sports coverage should be a refuge from the nonsense. He said, and that's where _ went wrong. He says, anyone who wants their political opinions spoon-fed to them ain't watching the unnamed network to begin with. He says their TV, radios, etc. are stuck on, he says, on BSNBC and faux news. Jason, I always get tickled reading that stuff because you spelled faux correctly, and I never thought of it, but it's, yeah, BSNBC. I never thought of that. Denzel, where you been? He says, raise your hand if your team has beaten Missouri State in baseball this year. Mississippi State, yes, keep your hand raised. Wichita State, yes, keep your hand raised. And he says, no, 𝐷𝐷𝐽, put your hand down. Your team did not beat Missouri State in baseball this year. Wait a minute. Did they lose last night in midweek? They sure did.
Whoa, wait a minute. We don't just randomly come at 𝐷𝐷𝐽.
He sure did.
I was out of nowhere. 𝐷𝐷𝐽 didn't provoke anybody. Hey, okay, raise your hand if you're tied for first in your conference. 𝐷𝐷𝐽, keep your hand up. Raise your hand if you're 13th in the conference and 1-5 and very loose. Hey, White Denzel, keep your hand up.
He got you. He got you, Denzel. Hey, really, he got you. Okay, it's just, you got to give him credit. Beaver got you. I was going over those scores earlier, and I missed that. I don't know how I missed that. They go to extra innings last night. In 10 innings, Missouri State beats Arkansas in Fayetteville 14-13 in midweek baseball. It dropped Arkansas's record. Hey, brace yourself, Denzel. Me too, though. I'm a State fan. Let's brace ourselves. It dropped Arkansas's record to 23-3. They're fine. They're doing just fine. And oh, by the way, Cal has them in the Sweet 16. Yeah. Uh-huh. Like, however steep the fall off the edge of the cliff was this year for Chris Jans and Mississippi State's basketball team, it was just as sharp of an angle, except up, for Calipari and Arkansas at some point. It's like, if you look at the first 2/3 of the season in terms of everything and record and perception and everything, you're looking at a graph. The maroon line is up here in the upper third, just steady across. The red line down here, that's Arkansas, is just kind of bottom third, steady across. And then at some point in the last third of the season, whoosh, sharp angles. State falling straight to the bottom of the graph. Arkansas shooting right up to the top. And this is what it is. Oh, and then let's see. So Wichita State beat somebody? Who they beat? Or was it they beat Arkansas in the midweek? Earlier this year. I don't know. I have to look that up. We love you, Denzel. Delta Tide fan says, talking about this heat, y'all are talking about in another month or so, it got me chuckling. He says, imagine being a type 2 diabetic like I am, having little to no circulation in my feet. During the summertime, it'll be 80 degrees at night. My feet will be cold as a glass of iced tea. He said, and also whenever I hear football players complain about the heat, I also chuckle a little bit. He said, I was in the band and was a tuba player throughout high school and for my 2 years of community college. He says, imagine packing 30 to 40 pounds of horn on your shoulder, 100-degree heat during band camp, and during the first part of the football season. I don't want to hear football players complaining about the heat. This is from Delta Tide fan. Well, Delta Tide fan, again, I love you. And it is true. No, hoisting her and hauling around it, big tuba on your shoulder in the heat is tougher than people give you credit for. But here's what I'm telling you, Delta Tide fan, and maybe even you're kind of joking. Dealing with that instrument in the heat versus playing football in that heat, it is not comparable. It is not comparable. Anyone who has ever done it, that is, you went through 2-a-days in high school as a football player in the heat in August, college stuff, is nodding their head. And there are some people who did both. Look, it's just, I'll leave it at that. It's just not, it is not comparable. Let's see, Res Dog. He says, White Denzel does not represent the rest of the MSU fan base. Okay. And Res Dog, I can tell you were listening earlier. Okay, when I, instead of saying what I was thinking, I said boo-boo. And I said, to quote our local politicians, he says, and I quote, I'm reading it, he says, our raw boo-boo coaching staff needs to go. Oh, that is the best line ever. Oh, and it's gross. I'm probably not supposed to talk about it on the radio. But when he said raw boo-boo, oh, I lost it. It's like not funny, but funny. It brought up memories, didn't it, Res Dog, when I referenced that earlier. Oh, man, that's great. Y'all text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage. Did it again, though. I had jalapeno and cheddar sausage for lunch with other things. It was real good. Text me, 885-3776. You're going to have to remember the number. I'm not giving you the letters. I'm done with that. 885-3776. Jason says, what is it with the best SEC teams losing midweek games to butt-crack State? He said Arkansas last night. Tennessee's first loss of the year was to East Tennessee State or something like that. You know, I think a lot of it has to do with, teams get up. It's a Super Bowl moment for them, and they throw a good pitcher at you in the midweek maybe, and you're trying to get some innings for a couple of 3 new guys who may struggle. I don't know. But that's one of the great things about baseball. It's just the sport in general lends itself to a few more upsets, which makes it interesting. Parody. All right. Hour 2 coming up. We got fishing talk coming up also. Stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both. Break me off a piece of that. Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com, at a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. You know, it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It was 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. Being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here in the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. Get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. murraywest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
A Clinton repair, you'll know it's right. Learn more today at ClintonBodyShop.com or call 601-924-2159 to begin the conversation. Choose the company in Central Mississippi that has taken care of Mississippians and their vehicles for decades. That's Clinton Body Shop in Clinton and in Richland.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file.
I'm 𝐌𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢 with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit.
1059.com.
Hi, here we go. Hour number 2 of the show, off and running with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau all across the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, your local Farm Bureau insurance agents in all 82 counties. I'm here. Beaver's here. Thank goodness he's here. And you're here. Thank goodness you're here. Really, that's most important, is that you are here. Therefore, we have a show. Got the whole gang. Y'all can be a part of it. Comment on the live stream. If you're over there on YouTube or Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, feel free to give me a comment right there. And we can pop it up on the screen. You can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. The number to text is 885-3776. 885-3776. Got to remember that number because I'm not giving you the letters anymore. I'm done with that. You can also call me on the Divinity phone. The Divinity equipment phone line. Number to call is 897-1059. Just like the radio station, 1059. 897-1059. Call me there. We'll get you in. Got some fishing talk coming up. If you're not throwing a top water right now, what are you doing? Here we go. Headlines.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Look them up online at mortgagemanms.com. Anything mortgage related, moving, buying, refinancing, go there. Trust me, mortgagemanms.com. How about this, football fans? Gary Danielson has announced he is retiring from CBS Sports as the lead college football analyst following the upcoming season. This is going to be the last one. That'll be it. After this year, Charles Davis, the former Tennessee Volunteer, is going to take over as the lead football analyst for CBS. So if you like Gary Danielson from back in the old Vern and Gary days, you better get a fill of it this year. This will be it. 2025 season be it for him. All right. Midweek baseball. State won last night, beat Samford. Ole Miss won last night, beat Memphis. Everybody else in the SEC won their midweek games last night, except Florida lost another game, this one to Florida State. Florida's just bad. Kentucky lost last night at home to Xavier in the midweek, and Arkansas lost last night in Fayetteville in 10 innings to Missouri State. Of course, then coming up later in the week, we're going to get baseball, basketball, a little bit of everything. College baseball, the state at LSU series begins on a Thursday, so tomorrow. And so to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3-game series for that one. Also, the Ole Miss hosting Florida series begins tomorrow as well. So that's Thursday through Saturday. The rest of the series in the league, they'll all kind of begin on Friday, with Tennessee going to South Carolina, Auburn going to Georgia, Kentucky will go to A&M, Oklahoma will go to Alabama, Arkansas will travel to Vandy, and Texas will travel to Missouri. Also tomorrow is the opening day of Major League Baseball, so we're looking forward to that. And then, of course, the round of 16, Sweet 16, that kicks up tomorrow. 4 games tomorrow, 4 on Friday. Ole Miss will play on Friday. But I think you have 3 SEC teams in action tomorrow, and then, maybe 4 on Friday? Really, it's almost like the You know, the Sweet 16 is kind of like the SEC Invitational. It's kind of how it feels. So those are your headlines here for Hour 2, brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group and Went. My man Went. The Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank here in Mississippi. Anything mortgage related, that's where you go. Look them up online at mortgagemanms.com. Regarding the Heat, football and band, White Denzel texted, and he said, I did both in high school, football and band. He said, I'd much rather sit in the stands with my instrument in that horrible uniform that should not have been worn in that heat. Well, right. I mean, none of it's comfortable. I'm just saying that the two things don't really compare. They don't really compare. All right, listen. Two things. A minute ago, I said, if you aren't throwing a top water right now, what are you doing? Now, I am not the expert. Maybe it is time to throw it where you live. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. You're the expert. Others are the... I like the idea. I just know this. I've had times in my life, and I can picture it I can close my eyes and picture it, where I'm walking at top water lure back to the boat, and it's leaving a trail through the pollen that has formed a film on top of the water where I'm fishing. Any of y'all got your hand up, can associate with that? One guy who may know what I'm talking about, who the last time we tried to get him on the show, it was lightning and thundering, and 2 different times the power went out. So hopefully now, I'm knocking on some wood here in the studio, that we get all the way through it today with Larry Pugh, our friend and fisherman and fisheries biologist and former deputy director at the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, on your radio right now. Larry, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. How's the weather treating you?
Matt, how are you today? I'm doing great. The weather's wonderful. Wish I was actually on the water.
I bet you do. Have you ever had that experience, though, of throwing a top water and you're bringing it back to the boat through that film of pollen that's on top of the water? Have you ever had that experience?
Not since Monday. And you were talking about that while I was on hold, and I was thinking, golly, he must have read my mind, because I did throw a topwater some Monday. I didn't have any luck on it.
Okay.
I think the water's still a little cool for our part of the state.
Okay.
But it was pretty funny watching the pollen on top of the water, the way it was getting on my buzz bait.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you always seem to talk about water temperature. Every time you come on, your references are usually regarding water temperature. I mean, safe to say that for you and other bass fishermen in Mississippi, that's the biggest factor determining, like, changing patterns and baits and depths and that sort of thing?
Oh, no doubt, Matt. I mean, we're still looking at water temps in the, let's say, 60 to 65 in our part of the state.
Okay.
The reservoirs are going to be a little cooler probably at the surface.
Okay.
But like I always talk about, the days are getting longer, the water temp's warming up, and the fish are ready to go to the bank up here. Now, I wouldn't be surprised in Central or South Mississippi if they hadn't already tried to do their thing.
Yeah, gotcha. When you said different temps in the reservoirs, just how do you explain that? Why is that?
Size.
Okay.
Just sheer size. Sardis, Grenada, and when I say reservoir, Sardis, Grenada, Enid, Pickwick, Bay Springs, they typically run a lot cooler. Not a lot, but several degrees cooler. Now, with the weather we're having right now, I mean, it's sunny and 72.
Yeah.
These longer afternoons, that northeast side of the lake is going to warm up quick.
When it's time to throw a topwater, what's your favorite for largemouth?
Favorite topwater?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have a buzzbait on the deck starting in late February, and under the right conditions, I can catch them on a buzzbait. But I mean, if I'm on Pickwick, I love to throw a spook, a walking type bait if I'm on Sardis or Enid on bass fishing there, I'm going to throw like a prop bait, devil's horse. I seem to have really good luck there on the prop bait.
Huh. That's interesting that you'd almost identify certain types of lures, different types of lures with different lakes, even though they're in the same state, same time of year. I mean, I wonder why that is. Just like a watercolor clarity type of thing, typically.
I don't know. I think it's just a history for me, it's just a simple history over there of going with people that fish Sardis so much or fished Enid so much and watching the baits they were throwing and going, wow, I didn't think I would be tying on a devil's horse.
Yeah.
And that's what we caught them on,
Right. Well, and so as you were talking, for example, you said buzzbait, and sometimes even late February you throw it. Well, I know people like me, we watch TV and watch shows and read magazines our whole life, and we might have the impression that, things have got to be really warm for them to chase and hit a moving buzzbait like that on top of the water. Apparently, though, it doesn't have to be that warm. Am I right?
No, definitely not. And as the longer I had fished during the winter, the more I realized how active the fish can be and even willing to chase a bait. Now, Monday, I was at one of our state lakes up here, and, I had a couple of fish move on the buzzbait, but they just never would commit.
Okay.
So, we had a lot of luck with a spinnerbait and a chatterbait.
So I guess, like that experience you're saying you had this week, they follow it, they hit at it, but they don't try to eat it. What's your adjustment? What's your immediately, how do you think, okay, here's how I'm going to adjust to catch that fish?
Spinnerbait. I mean, I had been catching fish on a spinnerbait and a chatterbait, and a buzzbait is a good bait to throw in the backs of pockets, especially if the fish are trying to pull up and spawn. And I like to use it as a search bait. And when we were moving through some pockets, I was firing that buzzbait in the back of those pockets just to see if, I could get a fish to move on it. And they're just not there yet. I had a couple of small fish, probably males, that have moved up, to start the process of nesting that moved on it. But the better fish were out at the mouths of the pockets, just staging, and the bite was better on a spinnerbait and a chatterbait.
Larry Pugh on your radio right now. We're talking fishing, bass fishing so far. Larry, somebody listening might go, hey, how do I know? Like I'm just a fun fisherman weekend, here, there, recreational. How do I know if they're spawning or not, in my lake or in my pond where I go fishing? How would you answer that question?
Well, in our part of the state, Bay Springs, I know they're going to be spawning in April.
Okay.
Usually the first full moon or new moon in April, the bass will be bedding on at Bay Springs. Okay. On our state lakes, I haven't seen any bedding activity, and in the majority of the lakes I fish, there's enough clarity you can see the bed. You get down on South Mississippi or those flood control reservoirs, you're not going to see those fish bedding. So, for example, on Sardis, when the water comes up next month, hopefully, continues to come up, on Sardis, you may be going down through there fishing a jig or a lizard, and you'll get a bite and you'll miss it. And you'll throw right back in there, and the fish will hit again, and you'll miss it. And a lot of times that's just that fish, picking that lizard up out of the bed and moving it out of the way. It's not hitting to eat; it's hitting to get that lizard or jig out of its area.
Yeah.
That it's trying to spawn.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. All right, what about crappie fishermen this time of year? Is it a shallow thing? Does it depend on where you are?
Yeah. 5 feet or less.
Okay.
I have not been in a couple of weeks, but in the last 2 weeks, I have contacts and friends that have been over there.
Yeah.
And it is just broke wide open. I mean, you can catch fish out to 10 feet of water, crappie, but some of the fish a friend of mine caught last week were spewing eggs when he would bring them into the boat.
Okay.
That's how close they are to spawning.
Okay.
And I know there's a bunch of folks waiting, which certainly indicates to me that those fish have pulled up shallow and are doing their thing.
Yeah. Okay. And again, you talked about the difference North Mississippi versus South. I know there can be a big difference, but say Pickwick to, Southwest Mississippi, still the same thing, 5 feet or less?
I don't, since I've retired, I don't have my contacts down there.
Okay.
So I really don't know. I don't know what's going on in South Mississippi. I can tell you from history, we would see bass bedding in South Mississippi as early as February, early February.
Wow.
But take crappie, for example. The peak spawn on Barnett, one of the best crappie fishermen ever in Mississippi, Rabbit Rogers, always said tax day was the peak crappie spawn on Barnett. So, they might not be getting ready to spawn, or they are getting ready to spawn, but the peak spawn may not be for a couple of weeks yet on Barnett. So,
yeah,
pretty interesting how unique each of these lakes are.
Yeah, Larry, do you use the yellow fluorescent line when you're crappie fishing in shallow water, when you're casting a jig or something?
I do. I've done both. Now, post spawn, when we're fishing, what I call offshore for crappie, we're casting, and I do use the yellow line.
Okay.
But this time of year, if I'm fishing shallow, and you're gonna laugh. But if I'm fishing shallow, especially if I'm at Grenada or Sardis and I'm wading, I've got 10-pound braid on my jig pole.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
because
so you got to pull it out of the bush.
I mean, it's close combat. Oh yeah, and a lot of times you can't jerk straight up. You gotta pull to the side, and those fish are going to be in a lot of times the thickest cover you could find. And I don't know, I haven't noticed a difference in braid versus mono, so I use a really light braid.
Okay. When you say you haven't noticed a difference, you mean in terms of the number of bites that you get?
Yes, a lot of people don't like braid because it says they say you get fewer bites. But when you're wading and you drop, we're fishing in 3 foot water or less. So when you drop that jig down there in the middle of a brush top or a cypress tree, it's usually going to be pretty instant. When that fish hits.
Yeah.
So it's my opinion. I would rather have that extra leverage, with that braid,
sure.
than just using regular mono.
Hey, this time of year, that wading in that shallow water with those long jig poles, is that primarily like a reservoir thing? Short jig poles?
Man, I want a 10-foot or a 12-foot.
Okay.
I prefer a 10 because, again, the cover that I'm fishing.
Okay.
If that water's high enough and there's a lot of cover in the water, I want a short 10 or 12-foot jig pole.
Okay.
But I've gotten to wade over the years at Bee Lake, down in just north of Yazoo City. I've waded on Sardis. I've waded Enid. I've waded Grenada. I've waded in Louisiana. And it's pretty much all the same.
Okay.
Believe it or not, just grab you a pair of waders, and people ask me where to go, and I say just watch where everybody else is fishing. Because that gives you a good indication of where the fish are.
That makes sense. So I guess this is Larry. I was going to jump in. I guess this is really like a great time of year, if not. Maybe the best time of year in terms of the number of people that fish and participate in the sport in Mississippi right about now. It starts warming up. Fish go shallow. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Right now, I guarantee you today, winds light and variable out of the west. You had better have been at the boat ramp at Sardis by 6 or 6:15 to get in line to launch. These reservoirs are so crowded right now. for crappie. It's just amazing. The number of people that are fishing, the amount of fish being caught, but yet these flood control reservoirs over the years have been so resilient to continue to produce those big fish.
Yeah. Yep. And I see the pictures, people putting the pictures on Facebook and everything all the time. It's really cool to kind of see what's going on right now. It's cool to get to talk to you, Larry. I appreciate some time here on this Wednesday. I hope I didn't, interrupt your fishing trip too bad here today.
No, I took the day off, man. I've got to catch up on my yard work. I've not done any yard work yet. So, unfortunately, I got to get out here and get some yard work done because I've got some trips lined up that I need to participate in. So.
That's good stuff. Larry, thank you. We'll talk again soon. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Matt. Thanks for hollering.
Yep, thank you. All right, so were y'all taking notes? I was taking some notes. Let me say, all right, so waiting, and especially in the reservoirs, but waiting for crappie. Brush tops, he uses braided line. Doesn't see much of a difference using braided line versus monofilament because some people think, okay, the monofilament, you get more bites. But he says no. Shorter jig pole, 10, 12 feet, because you can hoist them out of there. Bass fishing, look at the water temps. They're coming in there shallow. Back in the pockets, throw a buzz bait. They swirl at it. They don't hit that buzz bait, but they think about it. Throw a spinner bait. I think I made the right notes. Anything I should have asked him I didn't? What do y'all think? What are y'all catching them on? Let me know. All right, rolling along with you here on this Wednesday. It's warming up out there. Stick around.
Do you really need to study game film in bed?
That's what they say in line.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. murraywest.com. That's MURRY West.com. New Albany, Mississippi. Go to highpointroasters.com. Get your coffee there. You'll be glad you did. Big 1 pound bags. Might be a little more expensive, but you're not going to run out as soon. So there's big bags of it. You can either get it whole bean or already ground, single origin from all over the world, some of the best coffee from all over the world, or blends that they roast and put together right there at High Point in New Albany. Check it out. Go to highpointroasters.com. Tell them I sent you. Baseball coming up. This weekend, State goes to LSU. They're going to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sven commented on YouTube. He says, my prediction for the LSU series is 2-1 LSU. Pico will shut them down and win game 1 for State, he says, or for us. He says Ligon will give us a close one that we lose by 1 or 2 runs on Saturday instead of, but Saturday going to get blown out in game 3. That's what he thinks. He did go back and say, thank goodness we won the game yesterday. 2 times the bases loaded, not a single run from it against a team that we should run rule 99 out of 100 times. Talking about it against Samford yesterday. We did get the win, right? 6-1, I think, was the final. Delta Tide fan said, talking about leaving that film on top of the water reminds me of a club tournament I fished in one time with a friend. Says he finished first and I finished third, and we were paired together in the same boat, but it wasn't pollen that we were fishing in. He says we were fishing actually on Lake Ferguson, where the grain elevator loads grain on the barges that goes out into the Mississippi River. He said catching bass on top waters, crankbaits, spinnerbaits. Those bass were feeding on shad that were coming in to eat that grain shaft from the grain that was being loaded into the barges. How about that? How about that? Brought in the food brought in the food source, and then came the bass. That's really cool. Unnamed texter said, dogwood start blooming this week always means crappie are biting. And then he says, the question that I should have asked was what colors to use in terms of the bait. You know, that is true. Like somebody who's a big-time crappie fisherman like Real C and Larry and others probably would speak to, you know, certain colors of artificial lures, little jigs and tube jigs and stuff, and you got the jig heads and different color combinations, you know, like pink skirt, white head, and all those kind of things. And yeah, you know, I've always been under the impression that it makes a bigger difference in crappie fishing than maybe anything else. And but I'm not an expert. And I know, like in the bass fishing world, I tend to think that in the bass fishing world, the color of the baits like is super overrated. But as long as they can see it, if it's in the right place, they'll eat it. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm too simple-minded. Maybe that's why I don't catch more fish. I don't know. What's today? March 26th? Yep, Dogwoods. Hey, check this out. Hang on, where's B? Hold on. Hey, B.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
Today, March the 26th, is National Nougat Day. You know what nougat is?
We've discussed nougat a couple times here on this show.
I know this.
I still don't think I know exactly what nougat is.
I don't think I do either, but I know this. The picture that it has of it on the National Day calendar sure does look good. And I always associate it with candy bars because you remember, B, when we were kids and there would be like a candy bar commercial on Saturday morning. They would say it'd have this and that and this and that and nougat. So there's always some nougat in there. Here you go, Beaver.
They would always use the word.
The word what?
They would always use nougaty. Which always reminds me of an episode of New Girl where Nick someone kept saying, find your nougaty center. Just stop saying nougaty. It's a weird word.
It is a weird word. It says here, National Nougat Day on March 26th celebrates a soft and chewy or sometimes hard and crunchy candy, often found at the center of a candy bar. You know why you don't know what it is, Beaver? Is because of that definition right there. It is a soft and chewy or sometimes hard and crunchy candy. It's made by whipping egg whites together and adding honey or sugar, roasted nuts, and sometimes candied fruit. And they say it goes all the way back to ancient Rome. Okay, so there's that. I just thought I'd let you know there's that. Let's see. And I will let you know, Beaver, I think it's on my end, but a delay kicked in. That's why it felt like I was talking over you a minute ago. We got a little delay that kicked in, but it's not a big deal. Today is also National Spinach Day. National Spinach Day. Raise your hand if you like spinach. Do you eat spinach salad? What about you ever have an omelet and you get spinach on it with other things? Yeah, I like that too. Spinach. But you know what? Again, I'm a child of the 80s, early 90s. Here's what I think of when I think of spinach.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm from the spinach 'cause I eat me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yep, Popeye the Sailor Man. That's what I think of. Because Popeye was always eating spinach, and that's how they told you you'd get big, strong forearms like Popeye.
And always outrun them, but none of them get nowhere.
National Spinach Day reminds of the health benefits packed into this leafy green veggie. Not only are there so many delicious ways you can enjoy spinach, but it's also incredibly good for you.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish 'cause I eat me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Excellent source of calcium, folic acid, fiber, protein, calcium, vitamins A, C, and K. Says it's loaded with cancer-fighting antioxidants. Okay, so it's National Spinach Day as well. Just thought I'd pass that along to you. Also, let's see what else did we. Oh yeah, this was from earlier in the show. we have a birthday today. It is Steven Tyler, lead singer of Aerosmith. It's his birthday today. He was born on this day in 1948. Steven Tyler. Let's see, it's also Diana Ross's birthday. She was born on this day, 1944. Anybody else we know? Kenny Chesney. How do y'all feel about Kenny Chesney? I don't really know any Kenny Chesney music per se. I know, though, from watching the acronym over the last ever how many years, because they'd prop him up during football season as a Tennessee fan. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Kenny Chesney music, just to be 100% honest with you. But I told you the story. I've been through it before, so I will not go through the extended version. But yeah, one time, many years, it's like this would have been summer of 94 or 5, one or the other. And family vacation, middle of summer, we go to Gatlinburg, that area. We were outside of there in, we were even, whatever that, is it Townsend, the little town outside of Sevierville? There was a little bitty house-like thing, but it had turned it into a bed and breakfast, and they served, you could go in and like get eggs and bacon and stuff. We were eating breakfast in there one day, like a little restaurant. And the people in there working there started flipping out. They said, that guy right over there, he's at Dolly, he's performing at Dollywood. We're like, who is it? They're like, his name is Kenny Chesney. So he was like a booth over. He was a really nice guy. He was like, hey, y'all. He was like, hey. I was like, who's that? I don't know. And then our waitress was like, he's an up and coming big deal. He's singing over at Dollywood. It's like, cool. And the rest is history, as they say. Happy birthday, Kenny, wherever you are. Born on this day, 1950, Teddy Pendergrass. Born on this day, 1931, Leonard Nimoy. Passed away back in 2015. Actor James Caan. Sonny Corleone. James Caan also in Elf. He was the dad in Elf. And Mississippian from Columbus, born on this day in 1911, Tennessee Williams, considered one of the best playwrights of the 20th century. So we got some birthdays to talk about today. And born on this day back in 1874, Robert Frost. All right, a little bit of time left with you. When we come back, stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both. Break me off a piece of that. Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. You know, it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It was 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. Being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here and the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. You get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend.
Zone 1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team. From social media today, I'm going to read you this. It came from an account on X that I do believe is legit. Because also it's backed up by pictures. This story is backed up by pictures that prove it. It's pretty neat. Earlier this month, Jose Canseco volunteered to read to a class of Las Vegas fourth graders as part of a Nevada Reading Week event, a statewide event to celebrate literacy. Jose Canseco showed up in full uniform, read a book to the kids, stuck around for Q&A, and gave each one of them a signed photo. Tip of the cap, Jose. And look, yeah, it's true. At times, Jose's been nuts, especially on social media. But this is actually pretty cool. Okay, so he's in pretty doggone good shape still. And you remember back in the day, like early '90s, Oakland A's, Bass Brothers, he and McGuire. He was an unbelievable athlete. What was it? He was the first 30 for 30 or 40 from 40. It was 30 and 30, 40 and 40. Which one was it? Anyhow, stole a bunch of bases, hit a bunch of home runs. Okay, but yeah, he did some crazy things, and certainly in recent years, his social media he'd just be bonkers on it. But here he is, still in great shape. Old guy now. Full Oakland A's uniform. I'm talking about pants, ankles taped up, cleats, sleeves, jerseys. Got his number 33 from the A's and A's hat.
He brought a bat, wooden bat. Shows up at the school, the Jose Canseco, reads to the kids, fourth graders, takes Q&A. And signs a photo for all of them. Now, Sven, you got to know who this guy is, okay? Sven. By the way, Sven is in Germany, in Berlin, Germany. He's a big State fan. He's on the live stream. He's on YouTube. He said, the question is, who is Jose? Talking about Jose Canseco. He said, I never heard that name before. Listen, Sven, you got to look him up. Jose Canseco. He was the other half of the quote-unquote Bash brothers for the late 80s, early 90s Oakland A's. It was Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire. He was a big-time star there for about 5 or 6 years. Also, again, I have my hand up as a child of the 80s, late 80s there. We were, collecting and buying and selling and trading baseball cards. It was baseball cards and stuff still is a big deal. But back then, it kind of hit a little bit of a spike where it just, skyrocketed in popularity. And there was a period of time where, and again, it ebbs and flows as careers change and ebb and flow. But at that time, late 80s, early 90s, a Jose Canseco rookie card was worth as much as any modern baseball card out there. And, it was a big deal. So it's a blast from the past, but I think it is pretty neat. And, good on him. There's a little bit of self-deprecation there although I will say, if I was in as good a physical shape as Jose Canseco is at his age, I'd probably be willing to put on a baseball uniform too. He's a big old strong fella. But, I think maybe that's what we ought to do. More often, you have to wear your uniform. So, should I? Here's a question. Should I? Let's say, now I'm not at all pro or to the level of a Jose Canseco, but what I'm saying is somebody asks me maybe to come and read to their class. I went and read to my daughter's class at school. This is 4 or 5 years ago, and she was much younger. Should I, in that instance, then wear full football uniform? I mean, I could pull my actual jerseys out of the, shadow box case on the wall, borrow some shoulder pads. I think I got my helmet around here somewhere. I just need pants, socks, shoes. Go read to the kids in full uniform. Let them have the full experience. Stick around, Q&A, sign autographs. Again, way to go, Jose. Kenny, don't call me Ken. Attaboy, Kenny. Kenny, on the country pleasing text line, he is in our system as Kenny, parentheses, don't call me Ken, exclamation point. And he says, I wonder if Kenny Chesney minds it when people call him Ken. Why do you hate that, Kenny? Is it because of Ken and Barbie and Ken? Is that why? All right. Denzel says, I've noticed the past month or so when my texts get read on the air, Beaver has this annoyed tone when speaking of me, using my government name live on the air. He says, I honestly thought we were on good terms. I feel like I'm getting in Brando territory with Beav, and I don't like it. Well, Denzel, I can't speak for Beaver. I thought earlier he was just kind of, he saw an opportunity, the door was open, and he got in there. If that's been going on other shows, you might want to just take it up with him.
Allow me to speak for Beaver.
Yeah, go ahead, Beef.
White Denzel, I love White Denzel.
Okay.
Love White Denzel. I have used his government name, and I always say that's when you know something is serious, when I use your government name. White Denzel, though, rest assured, not be rest assured, as Jake says in a commercial. You can be rest assured because that's not English speak. You can rest assured that you are one of my favorites, my man.
Yeah. How about that, Denzel? I mean, and look, whether it's true or not, it's not often that Beaver will come right out on the air and call somebody one of his favorites. I can ask Beaver, you know, what's your favorite 3 episodes of The Office? He'll struggle with it. I'm talking about it's gnashing of teeth struggling to come up with the 3 that are the favorite because he doesn't want to offend one of the episodes that he likes. I'm telling you, it's a big deal. Hey, Denzel, how about Beaver picking on you, though, about your use of the English language? How about that?
F in English? Bobby, you speak English.
Hank.
Come on, Denzel, you speak English. You're going to do better than that. 2 minutes for Brando on the Divini Equipment phone line. Divini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. Brando, you have the floor. What's up?
Hey, since my name was mentioned, Matthew, hey, by the way, I don't know what's going on with your y'all's Cricket Wireless landline. Real quick, Steve was talking crap about you yesterday and telling Jake, well, I don't know if he's going to show up. You never know about Matt. Just he calls his own shots. But I do have something that Steve will be so nice answering the phone, and then it's like a whole nother person turns when I call in and after I hang up, and he starts talking about.
Hey, but you know
that guy's lying.
You know what that is.
It is 2 different people, so I can go with it.
Well,
so,
but you know what that is. You know what that is, Brando. It's because Beaver, his entire life, has been watching and, you know, I guess let's just say it like it is. Like he's been watching and in some ways idolizing wrestling. And where there's always these flip-flops of personalities on a dime. One week to the next. That's what it is. He's a wrestling guy. He understands entertainment.
I love how Brando calls and he thinks he's tattling. He thinks like I'm telling tall tales behind people's back. Oh. Matt Wyatt, have we not had a conversation between us where I say, I never know with you?
Yeah, we have. I'll admit it. I can't help it, though. See, that's the thing, Beaver. I don't mind. I don't take offense to it because
you shouldn't.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's not like I'm frivolously just picking days not to show up because I don't feel like it. I have a lot going on.
I think it was just 2 weeks ago. I says directly to you, I said, I never know about these hosts, plural, showing up.
That's right. It's true. It's true. I accept it. I accept my criticism. Well, for Beaver, I'm Matt, all of us here on the show, and our favorites like White Denzel. Thanks for being a part of everything today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. See you then. See ya.
Do you really need to study game?